It's not all over for the Canadian national team in this window. Of course, they have the matchup against Wales, ranked number 31 in the world, when they come up against Canada on Tuesday. And Wales hasn't beaten a top 30 team in the world, which of course Canada is at this point, since a 2-1 win over Croatia in European qualifying back in March 2023. So Canada is going to be a significant test for them. What do you see in this match for Canada?
For this Welsh team, they've got a good squad. Like, I think for them, it's been tough, as it is for any national team, where look, they've been so clearly defined by one era and one player. Anyone knows who it is. Gareth Bale. When you have a player of that caliber who becomes absolute world class, one of the best 5 players in the world, like he was at one point, winning Champions Leagues for fun, scoring in Champions League finals, drags his country to their first ever Euros, and then brings them to another Euros, and then brings them to their first World Cup in a half century. It's tough that when he retires, also a bit earlier than most would have expected from him, how do you follow that up? And I think Wales has dealt with that hangover. They missed out on the Euros altogether last time around, losing on a penalty, in penalties to not get there. But they got a good team. Like, you look at their squad, they got a lot of Premier League footballers. Like, I really like Neco Williams last year with Nottingham Forest. He was one of the standouts on a good Forest team. You got Brennan Johnson, who really took a step forward for Tottenham, and scored, of course, in the Europa League final. Although I still don't know how that wasn't counted as an own goal, but it's his. They've left it as his. You got other players. Harry Wilson's a key contributor at Fulham. A few others. Like, they've got a team as well that feels like Welsh teams since the Bale days. They've got great chemistry for whatever reason. I think it helps that literally everyone in their squad plays in the English pyramid. Some for Welsh clubs though, which is nice. So with Wales, what I expect is a team that's together, a team that's going to be organized. It's kind of been the story under Craig Bellamy, but also they've got some game-breaking talent that Canada will want to watch for. I think Brennan Johnson's unique mix of pace could be fun. And also he and Richie Laryea, I know, are pretty decently close because they played together that half season at Forest. So maybe that could be a fun matchup down that Canada's left side, Brennan Johnson versus Richie Laryea. So it should be a good mix of that chemistry, but also some game-breaking talent up front.
And Canada won't have Stephen Eustáquio in this matchup. He took a bit of a knock against Romania, has left the camp, is said to be probably fine, and it's not too much of a worry, but he'll undergo some further examinations. But Canada won't have Eustaquio. What do you see in that midfield for the Canadian squad?
Yeah, I suppose this isn't the worst thing, right? After the whole Alphonso Davies story to etch on the side of caution. So, not bad news. I think Stephen Eustáquio kind of said he felt fine. He finished the game. They went through all the appropriate tests. So it's tough, but ultimately, I think once again, what we saw, like Eustaquio, you know what you get with him in this Canada midfield. He brings balance. He brings, the right fit, but it's figuring out guys around him. I think what this means is probably a Mathieu Choinière start. Just because he, again, like I've said, he's the best stylistic replacement for him. Although I do wonder if Jesse Marsch pushes the idea of an Ismail Kone and Nathan Saliba midfield at some point, because both have a lot to prove, and maybe playing them together that can try to, get both to kind of push each other. But at the same time, it is a bit imbalanced if you go for that. So I think you probably go Choinière, and which of Kone and Saliba, I probably lean Kone based on Jesse Marsch's comments I thought that was the other big standout from this Romania game. After it, he's asked and he says, look, going forward, he doesn't want to rotate just to rotate like he has over the last 12 months, which obviously he wanted to do. He wanted to widen the player pool. We're not mad at that. That's where you learn more about Promise David, Taniolo Wasei, Ali Ahmed, Nico Seeger, Nathan Saliba. But Jesse Marsch wants to be a little more, rotating if guys are knocking down the door and dragging spots. And in a game where Canada played so well, I don't see many changes, if not forced. So I do wonder if we see a Kone-Choinière pivot, which could be, again, good opportunities for both to prove. Of course, Choinière's been getting decent minutes at LAFC finally. Kone coming off a good game. That's probably what I'd expect.
It does seem on Jesse Marsch's comments that, these are players that have to earn their minutes now, and they're not going to rotate just to rotate. But it seems like these are exhibition games for the World Cup, whereas before they were learning against weaker CONCACAF opposition, and that, had its punishment as well, because they were learning against Guatemala and they ended up losing that one. And they were learning against Curacao and they ended up drawing that one. But now we've got a bit of an idea of what Jesse Marsch's best 11 and squad looks like. You and I have gone over, predicted squads for the World Cup for a number of years now, and they haven't necessarily changed a whole ton in the last 6 months, 12 months even. We compare that to the United States, where they still seemingly are in this learning stage, and Mauricio Pochettino doesn't really look at the calendar and see that there's 9 months until the World Cup, and these are the preparation games. The scheduling's been done to play these more testing opponents and see what you have. You were able to see what you had against the weaker CONCACAF nations, but now, you look at Canada's upcoming opponents. They've got, Colombia coming up. They've got Wales, which is going to be a testing opponent. They announced Ecuador in Toronto for the November window, and there's going to be another testing opponent that's yet to be named as well. I forget, Australia and Montreal too. That these games are where you have to figure out who's going to show up against the best opposition. They're exhibition games for the World Cup. I think that's important. And I do think that that's why we're going to see Matthew Choinière step in, because I've said for a long time that Matthew Choinière and Stephen Eustáquio, they don't just look similar, but they play similar as well. So I think when you look at what Choinière has been able to do to get back into regular minutes with LAFC, playing with a guy like Son Heung-min as well, he's been able to elevate his game in a way that he wasn't doing in Switzerland. Of course, he was injured for a while in Switzerland as well, but I do think he steps back into this Canadian 11 as kind of that Stephen Eustáquio understudy in a sense. And then I look at Ismail Kone and Nathan Saliba in a very similar way as these more slick ball players that can create opportunities a little bit more than maybe Eustaquio and Choinière can at moments.
It's a good point. I mean, ultimately, what Canada's locks are, I think. At least, like for me, Moise Bombito. It'll be nice to get him back. Great news as well. Matthew Shinetti reporting just before and during the game that Bombito underwent another MRI and it came back well. Looks like he'll return to Nice training. That's huge because, man, it's crazy to think we haven't seen him in a Canadian shirt for 6 months. So he's lock number one. Lock number two was when he's healthy, it'll be Alphonso Davies. Lock number three, Stephen Eustáquio. Lock number four, Tejan Buchanan. Lock number five, Jonathan David. But it is nice to continue to get some more clarity around them. And I think it's interesting that Marsch notes that they're going to be kind of playing from the front because, in my opinion, I don't know if you felt the same way. When I saw this Romania lineup, this was the best available lineup, so to speak, at least in terms of Canada performances. I don't know if that's fair to say because, you start in goal with Maxime Crepeau and Dayne St. St. Clair's been better for club, but based on the last 12 months, at least according to the numbers, I dove into them on One Soccer. Max Crepeau's had the slight edge in terms of numbers, so that's choice one. Then you go through the back line. Cornelius and DeFugeral. Those have been your two best center backs for Canada that were available. Your two best fullbacks, Larea and Sigur. In midfield, you go Eustaquio, Kone. Okay, maybe Kone is kind of the one that breaks that mold a little bit, but at the same time, when he's been at his best, he's been the best Canada midfielder, not named Eustaquio, right? You think of France when he's shown at Copa America when he had some of those good performances. Then out wide, Ali Ahmed, he's been fantastic. I'll continue to bang that drum. I don't know why all summer I kept seeing projected squads of Alphonso Davies left mid, this guy left mid. Ali Ahmed's right there, guys, and I'm happy that he proved what he can be about. And then, of course, up front, Daniel Owase has been the preferred guy for Jesse Marsch up front with what he brings pressing. So, okay, maybe it wasn't necessarily, it was a mix of best 11, but also the guys who fit Jesse Marsch's system as well. So I think it's telling that he started with that with Romania, and that's what he's going to kind of play from going forward, because now it's up to those guys to prove they can earn those spots. Because if not, like you mentioned, if an Eustaquio drops up, Choinier's right there. Schaffelberg is going to be right there after his suspension. He's going to be hungry. There's other guys at the back who are going to be hungry. It's going to be interesting to see how they push to now win their spots now that Jesse Marsch has laid out this gauntlet.
Definitely good that suspension for Jacob Schaffelberg was in a friendly match against Romania and not in that first game of the World Cup, as so many of us thought at the time, and the rules said at the time as well. But Canada taking on Wales in their second friendly of the September window, and then we'll look, of course, to the October and November windows to wrap up 2025. Then it's the World Cup year, and the World Cup is, within 6 months at that point.